President. Thank you, colleagues. Firstly, I want to begin by saying what this report is not about. It's not about the wider political situation between Armenia and Azerbaijan. I've been given a very specific mandate to talk about the Lachin corridor, and that is what I've focused on in this report. I also need to briefly talk about terminology because a number of amendments seek to remove the term Nagorno-Karabakh. I oppose these amendments because the term Nagorno-Karabakh has always been used in all previous reports and indeed is being used currently by the Monitoring Committee, and I believe my report should be consistent in this regard. So, colleagues, I was asked by my committee to investigate the issue of free and safe access through the Lachin corridor. The committee recommended that I visit both Armenia and Azerbaijan, and crucially, that I travel through the Lachin corridor to see for myself. While I was able to visit Armenia, I was regrettably not invited to Azerbaijan, and I was denied access through the Lachin corridor. Now, there's no small irony in this event, given that the government of Azerbaijan has consistently insisted that there's no problem accessing the corridor. I could not get access. Colleagues, the key finding of my report is that there is neither free nor safe access through the Lachin corridor. And indeed, this is in line with the judgment of the International Court of Justice and indeed the interim measures from our own court here in Strasbourg. So why do I say this? Well, because this is the clear message that I've consistently received from people living in Nagorno-Karabakh, from NGOs operating and working with people exiled from Karabakh, from senior medical staff at the hospital in Stepanakert/Kankendi, who explained that the only way that patients are being transferred to Armenia is through the corridor was via the ICRC, and that this method has been shut down now completely for over a week and was also shut down for a number of weeks in April and May. Colleagues, please think about this. How can Azerbaijan tell us there's free and safe access through the Lachin corridor when they themselves admit that hospital patients have to use the services of the ICRC to travel? How can this be described as free access? So, the lack of access has been the case since the 12th of December last, when a group of so-called eco-activists set up a blockade on the Lachin corridor, apparently making claims of illegal mining. I say so-called eco-activists because, in fact, many of these environmental protesters have been identified as members of the Azerbaijan military with government backing. Some of them are members of the Grey Wolves, an extreme fascist group, and all of this has been documented in the British Parliament by a Conservative MP, Tim Loughton, on the 24th of January of this year. Colleagues, there is a growing humanitarian crisis in Nagorno-Karabakh, and the current situation is simply not sustainable for the local population. The crisis manifests itself in many ways: enforced family separation, enforced isolation of an entire community, and the fear and panic that that engenders. Access to food, access to medicines, access to medical care, access to education. Schools were closed for months during the winter because of the inability to heat them. And this was due to the deliberate cutting off of electricity and gas to the region. Electricity cut off since the 9th of January, gas cut off on several occasions, and then indefinitely since the 21st of March. So the only means of travel was for people who were sick, and that was through the ICRC, but that has been completely shut down now. So I want you to take a moment to imagine the situation that community finds itself in, cut off and to their minds forgotten by the international community. And then there is the hate speech which comes from the very highest levels of the Azerbaijan government. President Aliyev himself has referred to the population of Nagorno-Karabakh as the contemptible, loathsome and hated enemy. He also made a speech in Lachin itself just a couple of weeks ago, and he sent this message to his Armenian neighbours. He said, "Let them know that we can see Armenian villages from here. We can see those villages, so they should not forget about that." And one further example, the Foreign Affairs Committee in the Azerbaijan Parliament actually referred to the Armenian diaspora as a cancer on the body politic of Europe. Colleagues, please, I hope we can all agree that this language is entirely unacceptable. So, my report makes a number of key recommendations. We should open the Lachin corridor, and we need to see it open, and we need all parties to abide by the trilateral agreement. Crucially, we need a fact-finding mission to Nagorno-Karabakh. This is really the elephant in the room, and it's a particularly large elephant. No one, I can't get access through Lachin, but neither can our Human Rights Commissioner, neither can the UNHCR, neither can UNESCO. I have to ask the question, what is it that Azerbaijan are afraid that we will see? I call for gas and electricity to be restored immediately. I call on both countries to work with the Council of Europe to adopt key protocols regarding the protection of minorities, i.e. the Framework Convention for National Minorities, and a Charter for Protection of Minority and Regional Languages. Colleagues, to conclude, the current situation is simply not sustainable. There's actually been no access for food or medicines or anything for over a week now. We know the corridor is blocked. I'm saying that to you, having done as much thorough research as I can, and without being able to access the Lachin corridor because that was denied. As we head towards the winter, they're expecting more power cuts. They're literally running out of the ability to produce any energy because the hydroelectric dam they have is now running out of water. The situation is not sustainable. A human rights crisis is developing and continues to worsen. We need the support of this entire Assembly, and I ask Azerbaijan and Armenia to do everything in their power to address this situation, to help those people on a humanitarian basis and build a better future for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rapporteur. In the debate, we now are going to listen to the speakers on behalf of the political groups. And first in the debate, I call Madam Elisabetta Gardini from Italy, speaking on behalf of the European Conservative Group. Elisabetta, you have the floor.
Sì, grazie Presidente. Cari colleghi, noi oggi parliamo di un'area, il Caucaso, che è un crocevia strategico in termini di connettività globale. È una regione con un potenziale incredibile che può però essere realizzato appieno solo con una reale cooperazione tra Armenia e Azerbaigian. Da un lato siamo incoraggiati dall'intensificazione dei contatti tra le parti e, come evidenzia anche la risoluzione, accogliamo con favore il reciproco riconoscimento dell'integrità territoriale da parte dell'Armenia e dell'Azerbaigian. È sicuramente un primo passo importante verso la soluzione di un conflitto che perdura ormai da troppo tempo. Tale riconoscimento dovrebbe permettere alle popolazioni di vivere in pace e sicurezza all'interno dei propri confini. Però in questo momento, come è stato ricordato, siamo tutti molto preoccupati per la situazione nel corridoio di Lachin. Abbiamo seguito con attenzione le notizie relative agli sviluppi sul terreno, nonché il dibattito di questi giorni in Commissione. Siamo consapevoli quindi che ci troviamo di fronte a due narrative contrapposte. Al riguardo non possiamo non ricordare che in base all'accordo tripartito del 2020 il corridoio dovrebbe essere controllato da un contingente di peacekeeping della Federazione Russa e che proprio in virtù di questo accordo Mosca ha assunto nuovamente un ruolo geopolitico importante nell'area. Del resto, i persistenti scontri che hanno causato per entrambi i popoli migliaia di vittime e di rifugiati destano da sempre grandi preoccupazioni nella comunità internazionale e rappresentano il principale ostacolo alla pace e alla stabilità dell'area, agevolando mire espansionistiche da parte di attori terzi che potrebbero anteporre i loro interessi economici e politici al benessere e alla pace dell'area. Ricordiamo in ogni caso che il corridoio di Lachin deve consentire il passaggio della popolazione e dei beni, ma non deve essere assolutamente usato per scopi militari. Ci aspettiamo dunque che entrambi i paesi aumentino gli sforzi verso una de-escalation delle tensioni, con un atteggiamento costruttivo volto a favorire una convivenza realmente pacifica, sulla base del rispetto dei principi internazionali contenuti nella Carta delle Nazioni Unite, della sovranità e dell'integrità territoriale e più in generale del divieto dell'uso della forza armata nelle relazioni internazionali. Auspichiamo che i colloqui che dovrebbero tenersi la settimana prossima a Washington diano risultati incoraggianti, così come sosteniamo la missione UE di osservazione sul terreno EUMA e l'azione di facilitazione europea volta a favore di una soluzione complessiva. Consentitemi anche da italiana di ricordare che la mia nazione vanta storici e importanti rapporti sia con l'Azerbaigian che con l'Armenia e in virtù di tali solidi legami con entrambe le parti l'Italia è davvero motivata a promuovere il tanto atteso percorso di normalizzazione e stabilizzazione della regione. Analogamente, signor Presidente, noi ci auguriamo che questa Assemblea sostenga con tutti gli strumenti a disposizione questo processo di normalizzazione dei rapporti tra l'Armenia e l'Azerbaigian, due paesi, due popoli che ci stanno a cuore e che hanno tutto il diritto di vivere in sicurezza e in pace. Grazie.
Grazie, Elisabetta. Next in the debate, I call Mr. George ʔουργΙղ from Cyprus on behalf of the Unified European Left Group. George.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear colleagues, I wish to thank our rapporteur, Paul Gavan, for his accurate and thus impartial report. We fully support the findings and the recommendations made by Mr. Gavan and hope that this report is given serious consideration in order to guarantee human rights and ensure conditions of peace and security for the people of Nagorno-Karabakh. The current blockade of the Lachin corridor is putting thousands of people's lives at risk, forcing them to live in conditions of acute shortages in food, medicine and fuel, and impairing their access to health care and education. These circumstances, dear colleagues, are creating the danger for ethnic cleansing, as the Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh are driven to abandon the area and their homes. Mr. Gavan's recent visit to Armenia was valuable in assessing the situation on the ground, and it is regrettable that he was not invited to likewise visit Azerbaijan. The country's leadership should acknowledge the humanitarian consequences and the serious human rights violations resulting from the current situation and allow PACE and other international bodies, such as the Red Cross, UNHCR and UNESCO, to visit the Lachin corridor and Nagorno-Karabakh the soonest. In addition, it is vital to fully respect the terms of the trilateral statement signed in 2020 and comply with relevant decisions of the European Court of Human Rights and the International Court of Justice, calling for the restoration of freedom of movement in the Lachin corridor and removing all barriers to the provision of essential commodities. The situation currently developing is a reflection of the complex and long-lasting conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia over Nagorno-Karabakh, which requires a permanent and peaceful political solution. At present, both nations need to engage in constructive dialogue through the ongoing negotiations under the auspices of the European Union and the United States of America. Dear colleagues, confidence-building measures and further concrete initiatives should be welcomed, including assistance and support offered by the Council of Europe to foster cooperation on issues of mutual concern. Of course, the first step is the immediate restoration of free and safe access through the Lachin corridor, the de-escalation of tensions and the elimination of any imminent risk of facing another catastrophic humanitarian crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Next in the debate, I call Mr. Stefan Schenach from Austria on behalf of the group of the Socialist Democrats and Greens. Stefan.
Danke sehr, Herr Präsident. Es ist ja immer sehr bedauerlich, wenn im Schatten großer Konflikte wie der Krieg in der Ukraine kleine Probleme im Windschatten sich entwickeln. Gerade die ganze Region Bergkarabach ist doch eine Situation, die seit Jahrzehnten brodelt. Nicht nur Bergkarabach, sondern auch die anderen 7 illegal seinerzeit besetzten Gebiete, die jetzt wieder zurück sind in Aserbaidschan. Umso mehr sollte eigentlich Aserbaidschan hier großzügig sein, denn immerhin hat dieses Abkommen, dieses Friedensabkommen, das 3 Präsidenten unterzeichnet haben, die Präsidenten von Aserbaidschan, Armenien und Russland, am 10.11.2020 dazu gebracht, dass Kriegsgefangene und Tote ausgetauscht werden, dass es eine Bodentruppe, russische Friedenstruppe für 5 Jahre gibt und dass es eben 2 sogenannte Zugänge gibt. Und eine ist zu Nagorno-Karabach und die andere Verbindung zur Enklave Nachitschewan, die ja auch abgetrennt ist. Das wäre alles gut so und es hat auch eine Zeit funktioniert. Es sind Konvois durch die Enklave gefahren, die von russischen Friedenstruppen begleitet wurden. Und dann kam es, wie es kommen musste. Das war Mitte Dezember 2022, dass verkleidete Ökoaktivisten hier die Straße sperrten. Umgekehrt haben dann die russischen Friedenstruppen, damit dieser Konflikt nicht wieder ausartet, ihrerseits gesperrt. Und seither haben wir ein humanitäres Desaster, nämlich Nahrungsmittel, Medikamente, Energie, Dienstleistungen, Familienzusammenführung, all das ist unterbrochen. Und die humanitäre Hilfe, die das Rote Kreuz und die russischen Friedenstruppen leisten, reicht bei weitem nicht aus. Das ist ein Gebiet, wo 130.000 Menschen leben und circa 30.000 Kinder. Und jetzt muss ich an die aserische Delegation appellieren. Niemand stellt in Zweifel, dass Nagorno-Karabach Teil des Staatsgebietes Aserbaidschan ist. Aber sie haben auch eine Verantwortung für das Leben dort. Und der Internationale Gerichtshof der Vereinten Nationen hat in diesem Jahr gesagt, es muss wiederum die Enklave befahrbar sein. Ich appelliere auch hier, die Stromausfälle, die Gasstoppungen, all das muss aufhören. Die defekte Hochspannungsleitung bei denen muss endlich die Reparatur erlaubt sein. In diesem Sinne appelliere ich an die aserische Delegation, hier im Sinne humanitärer Einstellung großzügig zu sein. Danke.
Dankeschön, Stefan. Next in the debate, I call Mr. Birger Torrarinsson from Iceland, and Birger speaks on behalf of the European People's Party. Birger.
Mr. President, I would like to thank the rapporteur, Mr. Gavin, for his excellent work under difficult circumstances. He has shown great will in monitoring the grave situation, despite the obstructions he had met in his work. The rapporteur has emphasized neutrality in all his work, and I find that to be of great value. The ongoing blockade by Azerbaijan of the Lachin corridor, the lifeline to the people of Nagorno-Karabakh, has put the entire population in a state of total isolation for the last 6 months. Critical infrastructure of Nagorno-Karabakh has also been deliberately disrupted: national gas, electricity, and mobile communication. For the last 10 days, no food, no medicine or other goods allowed from the outside world, and citizens in need of urgent medical assistance are not allowed to pass through. Mr. President, this is totally unacceptable. These actions of Azerbaijan are a clear violation of the November 2020 agreement, which the President of Azerbaijan has signed, and violation of binding decision of the European Convention of Human Rights and International Court of Justice. The ones that are suffering are innocent people. What would Azerbaijan do if they were facing blockade by themselves? The people of Nagorno-Karabakh are no different than other people, no different than the people of Azerbaijan, no different than us parliamentarians. They want to live a normal life. Mr. President, the rapporteur was denied access to the very important information, denied access to Nagorno-Karabakh, denied access to Azerbaijan. That brings up questions. What is the status of Azerbaijan within the Council of Europe? Are they not willing to take part in the important monitoring obligations on behalf of the Council of Europe? Does this mean that Azerbaijan is no longer committed to the Council of Europe? I do not wish for that, and I hope that Azerbaijan will change its course and start showing that they have nothing to hide. Start showing real humanity to the neighbors. Start showing that they care for the needs of innocent people. Mr. President, I call on Azerbaijan to ensure free and safe access to the lifeline to the people of Nagorno-Karabakh and lift the blockade immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Birger. Prochain orateur est M. Bertrand Bouix de la France au nom du groupe ADLE. Bertrand, la parole est à vous.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Chers collègues, ce débat est très important, nous ne le dirons jamais assez. Le corridor de Lachine est une ligne de vie pour la population du Haut-Karabakh. Cette voie reliant le territoire à l'Arménie permet l'accès et les approvisionnements du Haut-Karabakh. Conformément à la déclaration trilatérale du 9 novembre 2020, la République d'Azerbaïdjan s'est engagée à garantir la sécurité des déplacements des personnes, des véhicules et des marchandises le long du corridor de Lachine dans les deux directions. La Cour internationale de justice a rappelé l'Azerbaïdjan à ses obligations en termes clairs dans sa décision du 22 février dernier. Je cite, « La République d'Azerbaïdjan doit, conformément aux obligations qui lui incombent au titre de la Convention internationale sur l'élimination de toutes les formes de discrimination raciale, prendre toutes les mesures dont elle dispose afin d'assurer la circulation sans entrave des personnes, des véhicules et des marchandises le long du corridor de Lachine dans les deux sens. Notre institution, fondée sur la démocratie et l'état de droit, ne peut que soutenir cette formulation et demander instamment sa mise en œuvre sans condition. Il faut mettre fin au blocage illégal du corridor, c'est un préalable. Pour autant, nous sommes conscients qu'au-delà de la question humaine et même humanitaire, il s'agit d'abord et avant tout d'une question politique à régler. Notre groupe ADLE soutient toutes les initiatives qui vont vers un règlement d'un conflit qui n'a que trop duré. En marge du sommet de la communauté politique européenne à Chisinau, le 1er juin dernier, et à l'initiative de la France, le Premier ministre arménien Nikol Pachinian et le président azerbaïdjanais Ilham Aliyev se sont réunis autour du président de la République française Emmanuel Macron, du chancelier allemand Olaf Scholz et du président du Conseil européen Charles Michel. Une nouvelle réunion aura lieu à Bruxelles le 21 juillet. Notre partenaire américain déploie aussi des efforts de médiation. Nous devons nous coordonner étroitement, il me semble que nous avançons. Le Premier ministre Nikol Pachinian a eu effectivement récemment une expression d'apaisement. Nous espérons que cette main tendue sera saisie à bas coût. Le groupe ADLE met également en garde contre le jeu trouble de la Russie dans la zone. La Russie qui s'est posée comme médiateur traditionnel entre l'Arménie et l'Azerbaïdjan, mais dont on connaît désormais la méthode qui consiste à maintenir les conflits ouverts pour saisir le moment venu des opportunités de gain territorial. C'est la raison pour laquelle il faut faire de ce conflit une urgence. La liberté doit être garantie à tous, population azerbaïdjanaise, mais également arménienne, quel que soit son lieu de résidence. J'appelle donc les pays de notre continent à un engagement fort pour régler ce conflit. Je vous remercie.
Merci à vous, Bertrand. Dear colleagues, I deplore that I have to announce that I now can only give 4 more colleagues the floor due to the enormous amount of amendments that have been presented in the committee. Sorry for that, but we have to vote. That means that in, say, 12 minutes we will start with the vote. First in the debate now I call Madam Christiana Erotokritou from Cyprus. Christiana, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear colleagues, first of all, I would like to congratulate the rapporteur, Mr. Paul Gavin, whose meticulous work, although impeded and unjustly hindered, as is explained in his report, as he was not able to travel to the Lachine corridor, has not managed to prevent him from accurately finding facts and producing this excellent report. It is inconceivable for a member state of this organization not to allow a rapporteur to visit its territory on a fact-finding mission? What would the Council of Europe become if every member state refused entry in their territories of rapporteurs on fact-finding missions? We are here, dear colleagues, to uphold our values of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. These values cannot be upheld if any of us are afraid of the truth, try to hide the truth, manipulate the truth, or all of the above. I am deeply alarmed by the contents of this report, particularly by reading in paragraph 71 that children in Nagorno-Karabakh are in essence denied access to healthcare, that additionally, children in hospital had to be gathered in one ward to keep them warm, regardless of their illness due to power cuts. I was alarmed to read that adequate nutrition for children is a pressing problem. I was alarmed, dear colleagues, to read in paragraph 53 that access to food, hygiene, healthcare, medicine and education have affected Armenians living in Nagorno-Karabakh, and that on top of what in essence constitutes an economic blockade, they are receiving threats from people masqueraded as eco-activists. The aim of this is clearly to force all Armenians living in Nagorno-Karabakh to abandon and flee their ancestral homes in order to achieve ethnic cleansing. As it is rightly pointed out in the report, the Council of Europe and its member states must use all possible leverage to ensure that the commitments undertaken by Azerbaijan when it joined the organization are fulfilled. The standards of democracy, human rights and the rule of law must be respected in order to alleviate the suffering of Armenians living in Nagorno-Karabakh. The Council of Europe has the tools to ensure that all member states don't just pay lip service to our values of democracy, human rights and the rule of law, but actually practice them. Thank you.
Thank you, Christiana. Next speaker will be Mr. Ruben Rubinian from Armenia. Ruben.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, dear colleagues. It's ironic that the rapporteur on ensuring free and safe access through the Lachin corridor wasn't ensured free and safe access through the Lachin corridor, isn't it? And indeed, this is not a coincidence. For months, the people of Nagorno-Karabakh have been under blockade. And for more than a week, they have been under a complete siege, because if before there was still a possibility to send some humanitarian aid, basic food, and medical equipment to Nagorno-Karabakh through the International Red Cross, now it's completely impossible. Moreover, 2 hours ago, when we were debating the amendments in the committee, Azerbaijan was installing concrete barriers in the beginning of the Lachin corridor. So now it's closed off physically and permanently. And of course, our Azerbaijani colleagues are going to deny it again. We are used to this, but I am very happy that at last the Council of Europe, the Parliamentary Assembly, has been able to verify the situation on the ground. And I want to thank Mr. Gavan for his words. And I confirm all his words, or rather he confirms all our words. Dear colleagues, we have to understand why this is happening. And I think it's not hard to understand. On one side, we have a government which is sieging a whole people, cutting the electricity supply, the gas flow, not allowing any access to these people to the outside world. On the other hand, we have a government which names these people as the loathsome enemy, cancer, which calls them to leave. Well, we have seen things like this happening in the history of Europe, of this continent as well. We all know how it ends. We all know how it ends when a government calls a group of people very different things, negative things, and which confines them in small territories. And we have to stop this. Speaking of Armenians being called the cancerous tumor of Europe, as Mr. Gavan mentioned. Well, Mr. Gavan, the chair of this Committee of Foreign Affairs of the Azerbaijani Parliament is here with us actually today. It's Mr. Samad Seidov. Let's hear him after this, why he called us the cancerous tumor of Europe. Let's hear his justification for calling Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh and everywhere the cancerous tumor of Europe. But of course, he is going to deny everything. But Mr. Saidov, I think you may not even bother to come up with a speech. I think George Orwell came up with a speech for you in his 1984 book. You can just stand up and say, war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruben. Next in the debate, I call Mr. Caspar van den Berg from the Netherlands. Caspar.
Dear Chair, first of all, many thanks to Rapporteur Mr. Gavin for his excellent work on the report. The Dutch Liberal Party acknowledges that conflicts between two states that are both member states of the Council of Europe are sensitive issues in this House. The Armenian-Azerbaijan conflict is one of them. Yet, at this moment, when the humanitarian situation affecting the people of Nagorno-Karabakh is dire, my party strongly supports the need for this conflict to be addressed in this parliamentary assembly in unequivocal terms. Free and safe access through the Lachin corridor is vital to the people of Nagorno-Karabakh for humanitarian, medical and economic reasons. Moreover, the current blockade forms a potential danger for escalation of the conflict in the future. Therefore, the current obstruction of the Lachin corridor is a very concerning matter for the Dutch Liberal Party. We are glad that the issue is on the EU's agenda by way of the leadership of the President of the Council, Charles Michel, who is playing an active role in the matter, and we fully support the EU's mediation efforts. My party remains decisively committed to finding a settlement to this conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan through negotiations. All efforts should be directed at de-escalation and in time at bringing back peace, stability and trust between the peoples of Armenia and Azerbaijan, however far removed we are from that state right now. And in the meantime, we want to stress that both parties are individually responsible for their own actions and need to be accountable for those actions. Azerbaijan should be accountable for its blocking of the corridor and for its detainment of prisoners of war. Azerbaijan's actions go against the values of this organization and are causing great suffering in the region. At the same time, we also take note of Armenia's role, where it appears to allow to circumvent sanctions currently in place, Russia to circumvent sanctions currently in place. For instance, in the field of certain categories of electronics that are key to making modern weapons. In a time when Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine is threatening the core values of the Council of Europe and the whole European multilateral order, sanction evasion on either side of the conflict has to stop, or it will jeopardize foreign commitment to mediation efforts in this conflict as well. Thank you.
Thank you well, Caspar. Last speaker in this debate will be Mr. Samet Saidov from Azerbaijan. Samet.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. How united those who try to disrupt the peace. First time in the history of the region, two nations are so close to each other. Two nations are looking for peace. And they have done actually a lot in order to reach this peace. But with this kind of discussion, I think that would be not so easy. This is really counterproductive to those who are living in the region. Mr. Havan said at the very beginning that his report not about politics, his report about the humanitarian questions. But he started from the political point. He said that Nagorno-Karabakh is included as a terminology in his report, which is exactly a political point. Because there is not Nagorno-Karabakh, there is a Karabakh region of Azerbaijan, independent Azerbaijan, which accepted to the Council of Europe as an independent state. And this is put under suspicion the integrity of the country. You are fighting against that. I ask my colleagues, dear friends, you have heard a lot of accusations against Azerbaijan. Have you ever seen even one picture of starving children in Karabakh? No, that's impossible, because this is propaganda from Mr. Rubinyan. Have you ever seen that Red Cross didn't have access to the region. No, never, because they have full access to the region. Have you ever seen that those who are living in Nagorno-Karabakh or those who are living in Azerbaijan, they're against of negotiations? No. The parliament of Azerbaijan has accepted the special representative in order to communicate with Armenians. This is our citizens. But by accusing me, by accusing Azerbaijan, by complaining to the Council of Europe, by begging to international organizations, Armenians run out from negotiations. You know why? The answer is obvious. They wanted to speak about the peace, but they don't want to achieve the peace. They want just only to demonstrate their intentions because of these problems, of this pain. They are sitting at the parliament. They are so acceptable. They are so heard. They are able to present their positions. And that's why, Mr. Havan, you are not sincere. You have been in Azerbaijan in 21. You went to Karabakh. You've been in Aghdam region. You saw with your own eyes what they did against Azerbaijanis. And I ask you during your visit to Azerbaijan, please reflect in your report Ganja, which destroyed by Armenian rockets. Please accept that Barda city completely destroyed during the war by Armenians. And you promised me. You said, I will do that. And then you said, no, I am not able to do that. And then, with all this knowledge, you again became a rapporteur and tried to present Azerbaijan in that manner. That's not fair. We are for Armenians, we for peace, and we will achieve peace, despite of this kind of accusations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As I announced, due to the large amount of amendments presented, I deplore that I now have already to interrupt the list of speakers. Speeches of members on the speakers list who have been present during the debate but have not been able to speak may be given to the table office for publication in the official report. I remind colleagues that typewritten text must be submitted electronically no later than 4 hours after the list of speakers is interrupted. I now call Mr. Gavin, the rapporteur, to reply. Paul, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I regret I have to begin with an urgent update that I have received just in the last 20 minutes from the EU Monitoring Commission at the Lachin corridor. And they confirm that this afternoon, Azerbaijan have installed concrete blocks, obstacles of approximately knee height across both lines of the road, so it is not possible to pass on the road by vehicle. They installed them behind the permanent Azerbaijan checkpoint, the green tent. On a day when we're debating this issue, to hear that news is frankly incredibly depressing. And it really flies in the face of a lot of very positive comments, and I want to thank all of the speakers, because I think there has to be a roadmap to solve this. There has to be a positive response that will solve this issue. And of course it must involve the Council of Europe. It must involve access. Access. Mr. Sayedov said on Monday in a very positive speech, he said, come to the region. But he didn't allow me to come. And he didn't allow anyone yet to come through the Lachin corridor. Isn't that at the heart of this issue? The humanitarian crisis that we are facing, I believe, is extremely serious. People have not been able to access any food or supplies over the last week. There are massive issues, as has been pointed out by speakers, in terms of health and welfare for children. They're facing into prolonged power cuts. They're facing into a winter that, frankly, I can't see how they can manage. And the only conclusion I can come to, and it's a matter of deep regret that I have to come to this conclusion, it looks as though, unless things change, that the intention is to force the Armenian population of Nagorno-Karabakh in Azerbaijan to leave. And surely that just cannot be acceptable to any of us. Colleagues, I just want to briefly mention the amendments. As you see, there's quite a few of them. I want to ask for your support in relation to 4, 7, 11 and 46. But I have to say to you, the rest of the amendments are of such a fundamentally different character. If they're passed, they will change the nature of this report entirely. So if they are passed, in those circumstances, I'll actually call on you to vote against the report. I still have to hope that together, acting in unity, we can give a strong message of solidarity in terms of the humanitarian crisis that is facing and growing daily and weekly in the Nagorno-Karabakh region because, and I reiterate this, the Lachin corridor is closed. And I once again call on our colleagues from Azerbaijan to reopen the corridor, to reconnect the gas and electricity, to get engaged in constructive dialogue, and I call on Armenia to do the same, so that we can all move forward together. Please support the report. Please reject these amendments that are going to fundamentally change the character of what I've written. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rapporteur. Does Mr. Goncharenko, on behalf of the Committee on Migration, wish to speak? Alexei, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. On behalf of Committee on Migration, Refugees and Displaced People, first of all, I would like to thank Mr. Gavin, Rapporteur, for a very important and courageous report. Also, I would like to thank Secretariat of the Committee for all work done. And also, I would like to thank all members of our committee. Today we had a long and big debates, and I think they were fruitful, so I want to thank everybody for this. The most important thing which I want to mention is that there are important negotiations between Armenia and Azerbaijan going on, and the fact that both countries recognized each other's territorial integrity is already a huge progress, and that's the most important. And we all want to see peace in this region, and that is so important for all of us. And the draft and resolution and recommendation that you are asked to adopt today, they can provide a real roadmap for our organization precisely to support the building of trust between Armenia and Azerbaijan with a view to ensuring a lasting peace. So I want to ask on behalf of Migration Committee to everybody to support the report. Also, what I want to tell you that our aim is really to have a peace, and we hope that it will happen. And we know that there is one country which wants the war. This is aggressor, former member of our organization, Russian Federation, and our aim is to ensure that we will have strong peace in the all countries of Council of Europe and in general in our region. Thank you very much, and again, thanks to Rapporteur.
Thank you very much, Alexei. The debate is closed. The Migration, Refugees and Displaced Persons Committee has presented a draft resolution which you find in document 15796, to which 55 amendments have been tabled, and a draft recommendation which you find in document 15796, to which 7 amendments have been tabled. We will begin first with amendments to the draft resolution which were unanimously agreed. I understand that the representative of the Committee on Migration, Refugees and Displaced Persons wishes to propose to the Assembly that amendment number 11 to the draft resolution, which was adopted unanimously by the Committee, should be declared as agreed by the Assembly. Is that so, Mr. Goncharenko?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much. Does anybody object? I do not see any. Then the amendment is agreed. We will now consider amendments to the draft resolution which were rejected by a 2/3 majority. I understand that the representative of the Committee on Migration, Refugees and Displaced Persons wishes to propose to the Assembly that amendments 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12 until 45, including 45, 47 until 55, including 55, to the draft resolution which were rejected by the committee with a 2/3 majority be declared as rejected. Is that so, Mr. Goncharenko?
Yes, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection against this proposal? Mr. Sadov.
Mr. President, we have an objection. We think that these amendments should be discussed despite of the result which we got at the level of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Sadov. In this case, if there is an objection, I have to ask if this objection must be supported by at least 10 members. Who is objecting? I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Is that correct? 12, 13. That means that the amendments will be debated. I now call Mr. Sadov to support amendment number 4. You have 30 seconds.
Then again, can you repeat amendment number?
Amendment number 4.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, I've already, within my speech, mentioned that there is a Karabakh region in Azerbaijan. And former Russia or Soviet presentation of this region is absolutely wrong. There was a Democratic Republic of Germany, and then after unification, we have united Germany. And that's why we are calling Germany. And now we have Karabakh, and that's why, of course, I'm in favor of that. Thank you very much.
30 seconds. What is, does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Mr. Gavin, the rapporteur. Mr. Schwab.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This parliamentary assembly is not to make political games. It's very clear that there are other majorities and you just play games here with the support of the chair of the EC group. We have to know it. So I ask you to reject this amendment because it's just to prolong the debate here and to criticize it and do so with others as well and to follow the rapporteur, Mr. Gavin. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Schwab. What is the opinion of the committee? Mr. Goncharenko.
Committee has rejected with a vast majority.
Thank you, Mr. Goncharenko. I shall now put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. No point of order during voting.
The committee was in favor of this amendment.
Sorry.
Yes, that's my mistake. Point of order, Mr. Sedov is absolutely right.
Sorry.
Just to have the floor, please, President, just to say, I don't accept the argument that Mr. Sadov has made.
Sorry,
however,
we are not going to
in this specific sentence, we are in favour.
Number 4.
Yeah, my apologies. That's my mistake. Committee supported this amendment with vast majority.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Goncharenko. These things can happen. I now will put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the vote. Can the results be displayed? The amendment is adopted. That means that amendments number 5 and 6 fall. We come to amendment number 7. I call Mr. Sadov to support amendments number 7. You have 30 seconds. Please support the amendment. You have 30 seconds.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Even though the terms of the conflict and dispute are interchangeably used, however, they have different meaning in the legal context. Disputes are generally used in the personal freedom and rights context. However, when there is a military aggression, when there is occupation, the correct term for interstate relations is the conflict. Therefore, I ask our colleagues to support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone who wishes to speak against the amendment? What's the opinion of the committee, Mr. Goncharenko?
Committee supported it with vast majority.
Thank you very much.
Amendment 7. Committee is supported with vast majority.
7 is supported with a vast majority. I now shall put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. The vote is closed. I call for the results to be displayed. The amendment is adopted. We come to amendment number 8. I call Mr. Sadov to support amendment number 8. You have 30 seconds. Please.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. President. According to the resolutions of the United Nations Security Council, European Parliament, and also this Assembly, Armenia kept 20% of the internationally recognized territory of Azerbaijan under occupation for almost 30 years. So therefore, in order to give some historical context to the report, we would like to add the following paragraph to the paragraph 1. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? What is the opinion of the committee?
Committee is against with vast majority.
Thank you very much. I now shall put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. The vote is closed. I call for the results to be displayed. The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 9. I call Mr. Madam, you have the floor.
Yes. Amendment number 9. Well, we would like, in the second sentence, after the words, it notes that, add the following words. Following the 28 years of fruitless internationally mediated talks, because clearly international organizations failed their job when it came to the occupation of Azerbaijani lands. And with this type of extremely biased reports, the distrust into the intentions of this organization will even deepen.
Thank you very much. Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? What is the opinion of the committee? Mr. Goncharenko.
Committee is against with vast majority.
Thank you very much. I shall now put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Vote is closed. I call for the results to be displayed. The amendment is rejected. We now come to amendment number 10. Please, Madam.
Yes, amendment number 10 in the draft resolution, paragraph second sentence, we would like to replace the word regained control, parts of, with the word liberated, because for 30 years, lands of Azerbaijan were occupied by Armenia. There are UN Security Council resolutions, this assembly approved that, dozens of other documents, and I don't really understand why are we saying regained control instead of liberated, which is a fact. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Arparadai. Does anyone wish to speak against the amendment? What? Mr. Corbyn?
Very briefly, Mr. President, this is irrelevant to the report. The report is about the Lachlan corridor, and I think all these amendments are barely designed to delay and hopefully, with their views, to try and destroy this report. I think we should reject this and all the subsequent amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Corbyn. What is the opinion of the committee, Mr. Goncharenko?
Committee is against with vast majority.
I now shall put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. The vote is closed. Can we see the results be displayed? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment. This is unanimously approved, yeah? So we go for yes. We come to amendment number 12. Who is going to support it? You have the floor, 30 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paragraph 3 refers to the end of a conflict, which is only a tactical goal. But strategical goal is to achieve a peace. For that reason, we suggest to replace the words "the end of" with the following phrase: the establishment of a lasting peace between the two neighboring countries and leaving behind, and only then a conflict.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Mr. Shenach?
Peace is more than only ceasefire, and I think to have peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan, more has to be done as it's at the moment, and I think there is too much hate between the two states that we can speak about peace.
Thank you, Mr. Shenach. Mr. Goncharenko, what's the opinion of the committee?
Committee is against with vast majority.
Thank you very much. I now shall put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. The vote is closed. I call for the results to be displayed. The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 13. Who is going to support amendment number 13? Sir, you have the floor.
Is it on? Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paragraph 4, we suggest to include the following phrase, acting in accordance with the relevant norms and principles of international law. This is actually the restatement of the inherent right of Azerbaijan under Article 51 of the United Nations Charter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gaderi. Does anyone wish to speak against the amendment? Don't see any. What's the opinion of the committee, Mr. Goncharenko?
Committee is against with vast majority.
Thank you. I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. The vote is closed. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 14. Who's going to support it? Mr. Gaderi.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is also a suggestion to replace the word reclaim with the liberated, because Azerbaijan territories were occupied. They always belonged to Azerbaijan. They were not reclaimed. They were just simply liberated. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Don't see any. What is the opinion of the committee? Mr. Goncharenko?
Committee is against with vast majority.
I shall now put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. The vote is closed. I call for the results to be displayed. The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 15. Who's going to support amendment number 15? There's Mr. Husseinov.
Yes. In this paragraph, we propose replace the word force with fighting against the occupying military forces of Armenia. In the light of the ongoing negotiation process between Armenia and Azerbaijan on the normalization of interstate relations, unfortunately, the current report is untimely, unfair, and inaccurate. In this phrase, this is the historical background of the conflict. The context should be given to readers accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? I don't see any. I do see any. Mr. Shenach.
We should not forget about the reason of this resolution. It's the closed corridor, which is a humanitarian act, and this has nothing to do with this amendment, which makes it only longer in the text. We have to act for a humanitarian reason.
Thank you, Mr. Shenach. What is the opinion of the committee, Mr. Goncharenko?
Committee is against with vast majority.
Thank you very much. I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. The vote is closed. I call for the results to be displayed. The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 16. If adopted, amendment 70 will fall. Who is going to support amendment? Mr. Husseinov.
In this paragraph, we propose to replace the phrase with the new wording. The current text arbitrarily overlooks the consistent efforts that Azerbaijan has been making since November 2020 with respect to addressing the rights and security of ethnic Armenian residents of the conflict-affected territories. Azerbaijan has consistently expressed its determination to reintegrate these residents as equal citizens.
Thank you very much, Mr. Husseinov. Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment, Mr. Sienach?
This sounds like a fairy tale. I don't see where are the efforts of reintegration of Armenian residents, and I think it sounds a little bit dangerous as it is written here. Don't force them to be, they give back their citizenship, as we know, which is discussed in your country.
Committee is against with vast majority.
I shall put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. The vote is closed. I call for the results to be displayed. The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 17. Who is going to support amendment 17? Mr. Husseinov.
In this phrase, we propose to delete the word countries. Leadership has not made any efforts to reassure, and after the words, this treaty at the words is not reassured yet. The report contains numerous baseless and unacceptable accusations against Azerbaijan and does not reflect the real situation in the region as well as around the Lachin Road.
Thank you, Mr. Husseinov. Does anybody wish to speak against this amendment? That is not the case. The opinion of the committee, Mr. Goncharenko.
Committee is against with vast majority.
I shall put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Vote is closed. Can we have the results be displayed? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 3. I call Mr. Rubinian to support amendment number 3. You withdraw it? Does anybody else want to move it? Not the case. We come to amendment number 18. Who's going to support amendment number 18? Madam Arparadai.
In the resolution paragraph 4, second sentence, we propose to add the following words after trilateral statement, including the continued illegal military presence of Armenia on the sovereign territory of Azerbaijan, the transfer of weapons and ammunition, most probably landmines there, to the illicit extraction of Azerbaijan's natural resources and the misuse of the Lachin corridor for those purposes in breach of the trilateral statement. This will make the paragraph more comprehensive because this is all the facts.
Thank you, Madam Paradai. Does anybody wish to speak against? Mr. Sienach?
That is the wording to try to describe why the corridor is now broken. Madam, you know, as we know both, that there is no transport of weapons and ammunition in this area, and we should not continue with some fake news.
Thank you, Mr. Sienach. What is the opinion of the committee, Mr. Goncharenko?
Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. The vote is closed. Can we have the results be displayed? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 19. Who wants to support amendment number 19? Nobody. If nobody moves amendment number 19, then it falls. And we come to amendment number 20. Who wants to support amendment number 20? Madam, you have the floor.
No. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In this amendment, we propose to replace the words subsequent deliberate cutting with the following words interruption, because claiming that cuttings were deliberate are unfounded and based on poor speculations spread by Armenia. Therefore, it should be rectified.
Thank you very much. Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? I do not see. What is the opinion of the committee, Mr. Goncharenko?
Committee is against with vast majority, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the vote. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. Come to amendment number 21. Madam?
In this amendment, we proposed in the draft resolution at the end of the paragraph 4 add the following words, as a result of infrastructure failure, because here we want to clarify that reasons for possible cuttings were related to infrastructure failures and not deliberate cuttings as it claims currently.
Thank you, Madam. Does anyone wish to speak against the amendment? Mr. Sienna?
To turn off the gas and close the gas for 3 days is not the feeling that there is infrastructure failures. In the electricity is right, but Azerbaijan forbid to renew the infrastructure for electricity, but in gas it's not true.
Thank you, Mr. Sienna. Mr. Goncharenko, the opinion of the committee?
Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Vote is closed. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 22. Who's going to support, Madam?
We propose to replace the word struck by with the following words concerned by, because here we believe that strike by is not an appropriate expression.
Thank you, Madam. Does anyone wish to speak against the amendment? Don't see any. Mr. Goncharenko, the opinion of the committee?
Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the votes. Can we see the results? Amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 23. Mr. Sadov.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our leadership and government is really very serious with all questions which we faced. And that's why when we can see that in the report, Mr. Gavel tried to present that the government of Azerbaijan is not serious, that's ridiculous. Of course, we are against, and I think for everybody is clear that this situation in the region is a very serious, and that's why all parties, Azerbaijan and others, are very serious. And that's why we're in favor to delete the wordings which we can see.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sadov. Does anyone wish to speak against the amendment? Do not see any. The opinion of the committee, Mr. Goncharenko?
Committee is against with vast majority, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Goncharenko. Put the amendment to the vote. The vote. I close the vote. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 24. Who is going to support amendment 24? Mr. Sadov.
Mr. Chairman, we wanted to add the following words, related to the misuse of the Lachin road contrary to the trilateral agreement. This is obvious that the major problem that this corridor, unfortunately, misused by Armenians, and that's exact facts that ammunition, mines, rotation of the military personnel have been happened there. And that's why, of course, we are in favor of this amendment.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak against it? Mr. Sienna?
Ahmad, some minutes before you spoke about peace, and now you write this. You know that there is no misuse. If you transport food, medicine, and other necessaries to people who could not move out of this area, this is not a misuse in any way. And but it's a question of really peace if you allow that.
Thank you, Mr. Shenak. Mr. Goncharenko, what is the opinion of the committee?
Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. The vote is closed. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to Amendment 25. Mr. Seedorf.
Mr. President, it's really very strange because everybody who is talking in favor of this report, they are talking about the ethnic Armenians. In these amendments, we wanted to include the wording, including local Armenians, ethnic Armenians, but I don't understand why the committee is against. We are in favor to take into account those citizens of Azerbaijan, Armenians who are living in Karabakh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seedorf. Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Don't see any. Mr. Goncharenko, opinion of the committee?
Committee is against with vast majority.
Thank you so much. I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Vote is closed. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 26. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, President. I would like to remind our colleagues that Azerbaijan has ensured free and safe movement of Armenian residents in both directions at Lachin border checkpoint. Despite these efforts, on June 15, our border guard was injured as a result of firing of the border checkpoint by Armenia. It seems that Armenia is resorting to such provocations, including that one here, because it's deprived of its illegal activities it carries through the Lachin road. Therefore, this so-called humanitarian crisis in the region is baseless. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Mr. Shenak?
If there would be free and safe access through the corridor, then we did not need this resolution. So this is contrary to the resolution, and please vote against.
Thank you very much. Mr. Goncharenko, opinion of the committee?
Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the vote. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 27. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Armenia, which constantly targeted civilian population during 30-year-long occupation, carried out ethnic cleansing against nearly 1 million Azerbaijanis, committed massacres against them, and prevented them from returning to their land in a dignified and safe manner with its military provocation, and now accusing of Azerbaijan carrying out so-called ethnic cleansing is a clear example of hypocrisy. Therefore, I call you to support our amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Don't see any. Sorry, Mr. Rubinian.
Thank you. I'm against the amendment, but I just wanted to use this opportunity to remind everyone.
You are only time to speak against the amendment.
Yes, I'm speaking. To remind everyone that it's very important that everyone stays, because the tactics of the Azerbaijani delegation is to prolong the process so that people leave and the recommendation is not passed. Thank you.
Sorry, that was not an explanation of your vote against, so please stick to the order. The opinion of the committee, Mr. Goncharenko.
Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the vote. Can we see the results? It's rejected. Amendment number 28. Sir?
Yes. This is not a tactic. This is called democracy.
Sorry, stick to the issue.
Yeah, I'm coming. Okay. Lachin border checkpoints should not be viewed as a pilot project. Prime Minister Pashinyan took obligation to restore all economic and transport links in the region. Till now, the Republic of Armenia has not guaranteed the safety of transport links between the western regions of Republic of Azerbaijan and Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic in order to organize an unimpeded movement of citizens, vehicles, goods in both directions. Therefore, I call all of you to support our amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? It's not the case. Opinion of the committee, Mr. Goncharenko.
Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Vote is closed. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 29. If it is adopted, amendment 30 will fall. Who wants to speak? Madam Aparadai.
Mr. President, we would like the Armenian population of Nagorno-Karabakh, we would like to replace it with the following words, Armenians living in Azerbaijan, because as my colleague has already mentioned, there is no such place as Nagorno-Karabakh, and it is against our constitution to call it Nagorno-Karabakh. The region is called Karabakh.
Thank you very much. Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Mrs. Sienach.
At the end, for a really peace and for a peaceful future, we need a status like an autonomous region inside Azerbaijan. But to say only Armenians in Azerbaijan, sorry, this is too less.
Thank you very much. Mr. Goncharenko, opinion of
Committee is against this amendment with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the votes. Let us see the results. The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 30. Madam Apardai.
Dear parliamentarians, again the same thing, and a couple of days ago we've been discussing, the committee was discussing the change of the name from Belarus to Belarus, and I don't know why the assembly is not consistent and cannot change Nagorno-Karabakh to Karabakh. There is no such place at Nagorno-Karabakh. The region is called Karabakh.
Thank you very much. Anybody wish to speak against the amendment? I do not see any.
Committee is against with vast majority, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Vote is closed. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 31. Who's going to support Madam Alparadai?
In amendment number 31, delete the words between Baku and Khankanti Stepanakert and neutral international involvement in any peace implementation mechanisms. First of all, we don't really understand why we are using word Stepanakert. The region is called Khankanti. And secondly, neutral international involvement is not clear in the text. The peace deal that is currently under discussion between Armenia and Azerbaijan is going on with mediation, and also the integration agenda being pursued by the government of Azerbaijan with local ethnic Armenians. So this is the proposal that we have.
Thank you very much. Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Do not see any. Opinion of the committee?
Committee is against with vast majority, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the votes. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 32. Who wants to speak in favor of the amendment? Madam Aparadai.
Mr. President, Amendment 32, delete the words between Baku and Khankanti Stepanakert, because the dialogue is to be conducted between the central authorities in Baku and local ethnic Armenians living in Karabakh region of Azerbaijan. In the current sentence, the wording Khankanti Stepanakert is not acceptable, since it may insinuate representing some kind of identity which is not and can't be the case.
Thank you very much. Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Do not see any. Mr. Goncharenko, opinion of the committee.
Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Close the votes. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 33. Who's going to speak in favor of it? Mr. Gaderi.
Dear friends, believe me, I also would like to leave this room as soon as possible, but
stick to
the game is not. So, Amendment 33, the context of it is the designation of a special representative to conduct a dialogue with Armenian community in Karabakh. And in fact, they already had one negotiations, but since then they never met. So we suggest after paragraph 8, which remains as it is, to insert the following paragraph. The Assembly welcomes the designation by Azerbaijan of a special representative to pursue a dialogue with Armenians living on its territory, and it encourages the further pursuit of this dialogue with a view to ensuring their rights
and security. Thank you very much. Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Do not see any. Mr. Goncharenko.
Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the votes. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 34. Who wants to speak in favor of the amendment?
The Chairman, it's again about addition of another paragraph after paragraph 8, which again remains as it is. And it reads as follows. The Assembly knows that Azerbaijan has established a border checkpoint on the interstate border with Armenia in full compliance with international practice and provides all necessary conditions for the movement of all local Armenian residents in both directions. In this context, it deplores attempts by the Armenian side seeking to prevent local Armenians from using this checkpoint freely, which ultimately affects their situation. I would like to remind you that establishment of a checkpoint on international recognized border is sovereign right of any state. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Do not see any. Mr. Goncharenko, opinion of the committee.
Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Close the vote. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 35. Who is going to support it, sir? You have the floor.
It's inaccurate to describe the situation as if Azerbaijan is not complying with the interim measures indicated by the European Court of Human Rights. At least in the case of the ill persons mentioned in the report, all ambulances passed through the road and hundreds of Armenians reunited with their families on both sides.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak against the amendment? Do not see any. Mr. Goncharenko, the committee's opinion.
You will not be surprised. Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. The vote is closed. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 36. Sir.
We resolutely reject the absurd allegations. The statement is factually wrong. We remind Armenia once again that despite the creation of appropriate conditions for the transparent and safe passage of the local Armenian residents of Karabakh region of Azerbaijan in both directions at the Lachin border checkpoint, and the fact that hundreds of Armenian residents of Karabakh region of Azerbaijan have passed through the checkpoint since its establishment, it's a provocation of Armenian armed forces that obstructed the safe passage from the Lachin checkpoint.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak against the amendment? Do not see any. Mr. Goncharenko.
Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the vote. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 37. Who's going to support it, sir?
It's me again. It seems that Armenia is restoring to such provocations because it's deprived of the illegal activities it carried out through the Lachin road after 2020, as well as because it's concerned about the positive approach demonstrated by Azerbaijan during the passage of Armenian residents. And the so-called humanitarian crisis in the region propaganda of Armenia is baseless.
Thank you, Mr. Yafarov. Anyone wants to speak against it? What's the opinion of the committee, Mr. Goncharenko?
Against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the votes. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 1. If it will be adopted, then the amendments 38, 39, 40, 41 and 42 fall. I call Mr. Rustamian to support. No. Withdrawn. Anybody else wants to move it? Don't see any. Then we come to amendment number 38. Who's going to support it?
I support.
Mr. Hussainov.
We propose to delete the following phrase because this paragraph does not reflect sufficiently clearly and accurately the essence of the relevant legal proceeding. The application of Azerbaijan submitted to the ICJ requesting the indication of interim measures concerning another interstate case on substantively different matter, thus cannot be construed as a mirror application. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody wishes to speak against the amendment? Do not see any. Mr. Goncharenko, the committee's opinion?
Against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Vote is closed. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 39. Who is going to support 39? Mr. Hussainov. Microphone.
We propose to replace this following phrase because most recently Azerbaijan designated special representative to the dialogue with local ethnic Armenians who has already conducted first round of talks on 1st March 2023. Instead of acknowledging these and other efforts and encouraging further steps, the report passes over them in silence and replicate one-sided accusations stemming from the false and unsubstantiated narrative of Armenia, which serves to denigrate Azerbaijan's efforts to this end.
Thank you very much. Anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Do not see any. Mr. Goncharenko, committee's opinion?
Against with vast majority, Mr. President.
Put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Close the vote. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 40. Who's going to support amendment number 40? Mr. Hussainov.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we propose to replace the phrase allegation with profound concerns because denying the illegal presence of military personnel of Armenia and Azerbaijan, abuse of Lachin Road over the last 2 years is a vivid example of hypocrisy, and Azerbaijan provided a number of well-documented reports, including videos proving that. Therefore, they cannot be allegations. We propose to change allegations with profound concern to reflect the situation accordingly.
Thank you very much. Anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Do not see any. Mr. Goncharenko.
Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Vote is closed. I call for the results to be displayed. The amendment is rejected. I come to amendment number 41. Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We propose to replace the word Nagorno-Karabakh with Azerbaijan's sovereign territories as well as rotation and funding of armed formations therein. Because the presence of the armed forces of Armenia in the territory of Azerbaijan is not disputed and even was confirmed by the senior officials of Armenia. Also, the establishment of checkpoint has extensively prevented the rotation of those forces. Armenia continues to fund these illegal armed formations, which is also confirmed by the leadership of this country.
Thank you very much, Madam Karamzada. Does anyone wish to speak against the amendment? Do not see any. Mr. Goncharenko.
Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the votes. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 42. Madam Karamzada?
Yes. In this amendment, we propose replace the words Nagorno-Karabakh with Karabakh, because the PS should respect Azerbaijan constitution and official toponyms.
Thank you, Madam. Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Do not see any. Mr. Goncharenko?
Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. The vote is closed. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 43. Who's going to support it? Mr. Seedorf.
Mr. Chairman, our amendment is to replace the word Nagorno-Karabakh. We already discussed this, but we insist to do that with the following words: the relevant area. This is reflected the reality, and we ask to support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody wish to speak against it? Do not see any. Mr. Goncharenko?
Against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Vote is closed. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 44. Who's going to support it, Mr. Seidel?
This is actually the same, but we insist to take into account the realities. There is a Karabakh region of Azerbaijan. You should take into account this reality, because otherwise that would be very difficult to reach the peace, and that's why we're in favor of this amendment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Does anybody wish to speak against it? Do not see any. Opinion of the committee, Mr. Goncharenko?
Against with vast majority.
Put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the votes. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 45. Mr. Seedorf.
Mr. President, at my speech I already said that Azerbaijan has opened all doors for Red Cross, and we on a very high level cooperated with this international organization. But when we are talking about some other international organizations, that's not so understandable, and that's why we have international organizations in the region, and that's why we're in favor of this amendment.
Thank you very much. Anybody wants to speak against the amendment? Do not see any. Mr. Goncharenko?
Against with vast majority.
Committee against with vast majority. I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Vote is closed. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 46. Mr. Seedorf.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think the major problem sometimes we can see within international organizations that absence of relevant standards, which unfortunately we can see. And that's why from this point of view, this is really very important that UNESCO will be in line with their respective initiative and relevant principles regarding international humanitarian assistance. That's why we are in favor of this amendment.
Thank you very much. Anybody wish to speak against it? Do not see any. Mr. Goncharenko, opinion of the committee?
Attention, believe or not, committee is in favor with vast majority. Thank you.
I shall put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Vote is closed. Can we see the results? The amendment is adopted. We come to amendment number 47. Who's going to support amendment 47? Madam Aparadai.
In Amendment 47, in draft resolution, first sentence replaced the words of Nagorno-Karabakh with the following words: living in the territories of Azerbaijan where the Russian peacekeepers are temporarily deployed, because this is factually correct.
Thank you very much. Does anybody wish to speak against it? Not the case. Mr. Goncharenko?
No more surprises, dear colleagues. Committee is against with a vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the votes. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 48. Madam Aparadai.
In number 48, in draft resolution, paragraph 13, delete the second sentence, because this is misleading statement, as Azerbaijan closely works with ICRC since the beginning of the conflict.
Thank you. Anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Do not see any. Opinion of the committee?
Against with a vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Vote is closed. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 49. Who's going to support it? Madam Aparadai.
In the amendment number 49, we propose the following paragraph. In the full recognition of Armenia's and Azerbaijan's territorial integrity, the Assembly underlines the need to achieve normalization of their relations, and to this end, it strongly supports the negotiations on a peace agreement between the two countries to ensure lasting peaceful coexistence, reconciliation, and cooperation in the region. It also strongly encourages both countries to invest all efforts towards the opening of all transport communications in the region, including the route between Azerbaijan and its Nakhchivan region. In the meantime, it urges Azerbaijan to take necessary measures at its disposal.
Anyone wants to speak against the amendment? Not the case. Opinion of the committee? Mr. Goncharenko?
Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the votes. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 50. Who is going to speak? Amendment number 50, Madam Paradai, 30 seconds.
Well, in amendment number 50, we propose to use the word on its territory. Actually, it was changed. That is, in the initial version of the report, that was the phrase, but I don't know why rapporteur has changed it overnight. So we propose to return it to the previous one.
Thank you very much. Anybody wish to speak against it? Don't see any. Opinion of the committee, Mr. Goncharenko?
Against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Vote is closed. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 51. Who's going to support amendment number 51?
Amendment number 51, again, the word Karabakh, because I think that the fact that our assembly doesn't want to be consistent in that and doesn't want to accept it creates more distrust among our population. If we change Belarus to Belarus, the assembly should change Nagorno-Karabakh to Karabakh. This is a right, correct version of the region, name of the region.
Thank you. Anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Do not see any. Mr. Goncharenko, opinion of the committee?
Is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the votes. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 52.
Yes, it's me. Hate speech is by no means unique to any single society. And instead of being a one-sided report, the proposed amendments aim at making the paragraph more balanced and comprehensive by recalling commitments of both Azerbaijan and Armenia. And I kindly ask you, to all of my colleagues, to support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody wish to speak against it? Do not see any. The opinion of the committee, Mr. Goncharenko?
Against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. The vote is closed. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 2. I call Madam Sonia Gazarian to support amendment number 2. Withdraw. Anybody else wishes to move in? Not the case. Withdrawn. Amendment number 53. Mr. Yafarov.
Thank you, Mr. President. In draft resolution, we would like to replace paragraph 16 with the following paragraph. The Assembly believes that in the context of dialogue between Azerbaijan authorities and ethnic Armenian residents, which should in any case cannot be detrimental to the Armenians living in Azerbaijan, and innovative solutions could be found to protect the rights of Armenians in Karabakh within the toolbox provided by the Council of Europe, which includes standards, instruments, and programs. The Assembly therefore emphasizes the importance of taking full advantage of existing standards, instruments, programs related to the enjoyment of minor rights, language, and education, and local self-government options.
30 seconds. Anybody wish to speak against it? Mr. Goncharenko, opinion of the committee?
Is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the votes. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 54. Who wants to support it? Mr. Yafarov.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I would like to tell my colleagues that Nagorno-Karabakh, the word Nagorno is neither Azerbaijani nor Armenian word. It's a Russian word. And even the EU Council President Charles Michel, and when we have trilateral meeting, and following the trilateral meetings in the communiques, they never used, Charles Michel never used this word. And I don't know why our rapporteur is insistent about this terminology.
Thank you very much. Anybody wish to speak against it? Do not see any. Mr. Goncharenko.
Against with vast majority.
Committee is against with vast majority. Put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. Close the votes. Can we see the results? The amendment is rejected. We come to amendment number 55. Who's going to support amendment 55? Mr. Gaderli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In paragraph 17, we suggest to replace the words consequences of the absence of free and safe access through by the phrase situation concerning. European Court of Human Rights and International Court of Justice don't use the phrase free and safe. The European Court uses the phrase free, safe access, and International Court of Justice unimpeded movement. None of them means free movement. Freedom of movement is not an absolute right, and every European Convention provides for legitimate reasons to restrict it. Thank you. So it's a situation rather than.
Seconds. Does anybody wish to speak against the amendment? Do not see any. Mr. Goncharenko, opinion of the committee?
Committee is against with vast majority.
I put the amendment to the vote. The vote is open. I close the votes. Can we see the result? The amendment is rejected. We now will proceed to vote on the draft resolution contained in document 15796 as amended. A simple majority is required. The vote is open. I close the votes. Can we see the results? The resolution is adopted. We now will consider the draft recommendation contained in document 15796, to which 7 amendments have been tabled. I understand that the representative of the Committee on Migration, Refugees and Displaced Persons wishes to propose to the Assembly that the amendments 56 to 62 to the draft recommendation, which were rejected by the committee with a 2/3 majority, be declared as rejected. Is it so, Mr. Goncharenko?
Yes, exactly, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection to this proposal? Not the case. That means that amendments number 56 to 62 to the draft recommendation are rejected. I call now Mr. Sadov to support. They're all rejected.
We go directly to the recommendation, adoption of the recommendation.
Sometimes things take time, sometimes things go fast. That means we now are going to vote on the draft recommendation, and I tell you that the two-thirds majority required counting only affirmative and negative votes. Vote is open on the recommendation. The vote is closed. I call for the results to be displayed. The recommendation is adopted with a two-thirds majority. Congratulations. May I compliment everybody for their patience in this procedure. The Assembly will hold its next public sitting tomorrow afternoon at 10 o'clock with the agenda which was approved on Monday. I would like to remind those members who are not attending the remainder of this part session to return their voting cards to the dedicated box at the entrance of the chamber before leaving the Palais. The sitting is adjourned.